Dr. Rita captured it well in the sense, I think we've been in this region relatively robust through the COVID crisis. If you think of, for example, South Africa with a contraction of 8% in the through 2019 to 2020. And then in the UK, a similar amount. And you look in West Africa, the Ghanaian economy actually grew from 2020 over 2019. I think some of the Francophone economies also grew. So Nigeria shrunk, but it only shrunk by 1.9% year over year. So we've been robust. And I mean, while it's been a terrible thing for the world and the region, the medical impact in this region has not been as great as in some other regions. So I think we're showing a really underlying resiliency on there. And I think people recognize, from a demographic viewpoint, an increasing income viewpoint, an increasing middle class. I mean, there are fewer and fewer places to invest in the world. I mean, Europe's population is shrinking, aging very fast. Globally, the number of children outside of Africa is shrinking. Globally, the number of working adults outside of Africa. So the growth story is rotating to Africa. And I mean, we've been a little bit behind, I think, in West Africa versus East Africa, but we're rapidly catching up. So it's not a big surprise. We've had good economic numbers. But I think, as Luke said, I mean, the struggle in Nigeria is, why is the equity market performed not really very well this year? I mean, this currency issue is a real struggle. I mean, we had Dr. Mensah say, with respect to Ghana, it's effectively a tradable currency. It's attractive to foreign investors. It's attractive to domestic investors, and it's the market's done very well. The currency's been very stable, but we can't say that about Nigeria. I mean, despite the fact that some years we've had good Naira returns in the NSE, on the index, all shares index for a few years, we've overall, in dollar terms, we've declined. So that's not, and of course, people don't even know that they can get their money out when they want. So until we solve that issue in Nigeria, I don't think we're going to kind of get to where we want. It's because of the size of the Nigerian economy, the Nigerian equity market, Nigerian capital market. We're not going to get unless we solve the currency convertibility. But let me say one final positive thing, certainly in Nigeria. If you look at the numbers that were presented a little earlier, one thing that Nigeria has done extremely well is develop the debt capital markets. And we tend to think when we talk about capital markets, again, there's an overemphasis on equities, but globally, the debt market is really the big market. And it's really, I think, a tribute to FMDQ and others in the marketplace in Nigeria that the debt market is actually so well developed. That is a critical factor, but I think it was performed well, but let's be honest about the level of development. I mean, this capital markets in West Africa have a long way to go. I mean, I've stood up in Nigeria certainly and said the capital markets need to be, in the next 5 to 10 years, 10 times bigger to be meaningful to it. So I think while there's been a lot of progress and the performance has been good in the last year, the economic resiliency, we need to keep our eye on a much bigger prize, much bigger capital markets. And just one thing I want to raise, and I saw it in the questions, for example, one thing I don't think that we have is an easy way for the retail participants to participate in the capital markets. So, transparency, ease of trading, electronic trading, lower transaction fees. I mean, these things have happened in other markets. They need to come here, but particularly, for example, on the cross-border. I mean, I mentioned I was a stockbroker. I used to work with TD Ameritrade, which people may be familiar as the second largest discount broker in the world. Well, maybe not now with Robinhood, but Schwab and TD Ameritrade. I could trade stocks in Canada in the late 90s on the internet, and I could trade perfectly the same way in Canada as in the US market at that time. I mean, and that's the kind of ease you need. If you want a trader, a retail investor, to help drive this market is critical. If you want a big capital markets, you need a lot of retail investors. Really, every middle class people, upper middle class people, wealthy people may already be in the market, but that's what drives the markets in Europe. It drives markets in Asia. It drives markets in North America. But if we really want to have this cross-border integration, it's got to be very simple for someone in Ghana to go on the internet or go on their smartphone and be able to buy a stock or a fixed income investment in Cote d'Ivoire or any one of the 8 countries that are part of the integrated capital markets, or buy the same thing in Nigeria. So I think we need to keep that in mind. And a lot of what the capital market operators need to do is drive to that greater efficiency, greater integration, and bringing these retail people in, which means education, which means transparency. People can trust the system with their money on that. But without that retail investor, we're not going to get where we need to go.